Good afternoon, everyone. Guess it's afternoon officially. I am Dr. Josh with Digital Hammurabi, and we are back for another reading through the Hebrew Bible session. And I was talking to Megan about the best way to go about this. And I know we normally do these on Sundays, but we've got a pretty full schedule, I guess, tomorrow. So I'm doing it now. Hopefully that's okay. One of the things that I was thinking is we've got 5 or 6 lessons in Biblical Hebrew up on the channel, and it's all free. You guys can go check it out. And we started doing these reading through Biblical Hebrew sessions, and I thought maybe a good thing to do would be to spend the first, portion of the stream actually continuing on the Hebrew grammar lessons. And then in the second half, we do the actual Hebrew reading. So what I'm going to do is I'm using sort of as a guide, Chongleong Seao's book. If you guys can see that. Ooh, which way do I go here? This way. Okay, sorry. So a grammar for Biblical Hebrew. It's what I learned with initially, along with a bunch of other grammars, but this was what was used in the course. Megan used it, and I think it's actually a really useful guide. So I'd put it up on the screen, but I don't think I'm allowed to do that. So I'm just going to kind of go through it. What I would recommend is that you go buy the text. Shouldn't be that expensive. I haven't looked, but go pick up a copy of it because it's actually a very useful grammar. So we are going to start in lesson 6 because we've kind of covered everything up through that. And we'll do that for the first half of the stream. And then we will move on to reading, continuing in 1 Kings chapter 1. So let's see how this works out. Hi, everybody in the chat. If you have a question for me, please tag me at Digital Hammurabi so it pops up in orange or red or whatever it is, and then I can see it. Okay, so we've got my whiteboard here like I always do, and we're just going to kind of walk through some of the things that Seao points out. So he begins talking about the definite article, and as we have all seen 1,000 times, the definite article consists at its core, generally speaking, hey, pathak, doubling dot, or hey, patach, takesh, whatever. My mother is in the chat. Hey, Mom. So what ends up happening, though, so if you wanted to say the king, the word for king is melech. However, if you wanted to say the king, there's your hey, your pathak, and your dagesh, your doubling dot. So that's sort of the standard way that the definite article is put on. He goes through, and we've talked about this before, actually, I think in another lesson. If you have a word that begins with, let's see, what does he use? Okay, ish, yeah. So if you have a word that begins with one of the gutturals, or reish, and you try to put that hey, pathak, doubling dot, y'all know what happens. Where'd it go? Try it again. Man, it's almost as if that aleph resists the doubling dot. It fights it off. So what happens is you end up with an open syllable here with a short vowel, which of course doesn't really work in Hebrew. So you get that thing called compensatory lengthening. So the pathak goes to a comets, and you get ha-ish, the long A. Sometimes that doesn't happen. You can get, he uses the example of the word heichal. Sometimes this is one of the gutturals, but you don't get compensatory lengthening. You get what's called virtual doubling. So you have a short vowel here, and you would think you'd want to syllabify it, there, but because it's a short vowel, they say that it's virtually doubled. So you have one hey going that way and one hey going this way. Again, we've talked about this a whole bunch, but just to go through it. There are some instances where, and I have a little different, I guess, a pedagogical theory, maybe. Not that I've thought it through that much, but when I teach languages like this, ancient languages like this, I tend to not go into all the details of any particular thing. If you read through my Learn to Read Ancient Sumerian book, the one that Megan and I put together, I don't go through exhaustively every conceivable form that somebody could see. I'm trying to give the big things so that you kind of get to learn it piecemeal and you don't get overwhelmed. So sometimes you will also see a segol. You'll often see it before an ayin, but I mean, we don't really have to go into all those things. But just know that generally speaking, hey, pathak doubling dot is the form of the definite article. Excuse me. And if for whatever reason this consonant won't take that dagesh and it disappears, you can think of it as coming down here and extending that to a comets, because you'll get compensatory lengthening. That A vowel will go long. Okay. He does note that there are some words, I don't know what's going on with me. I need some water or something. There are some words that when they get the definite article, they change their spelling a bit. So everybody's familiar with eretz, the word for earth or land. So you get your compensatory lengthening, because remember that dagesh, it resists that dagesh. So you'll get ha, but what ends up happening is instead of it being ha eretz, it actually goes to ha aretz. So if you listen to Genesis 1:1, Bereshit bara Elohim et hashamayim ve'et ha aretz, not ha eretz. And that's why. And there are other words, but you can look here in his book at the list. So that's, kind of a basic run through for the definite article. Lael is fun, says, someday can you go through the book of Enoch and talk about the context? Yeah, absolutely. In the meantime, excuse me, if you want a good introduction to the book of Enoch, there is a book, and it's by Nicholsberg. I can't remember the name of it now, but it might just be Enoch, but it's it's in the Hermeneia series in Fortress Press. But he's got a really good translation. He's one of the foremost Enoch scholars. But there's a really good translation of Enoch, and he has a good introduction where he kind of lays out the sources for it, generally, and kind of gives that context. He also has a very extensive 2-volume commentary in the Hermeneia series, two volumes thus far on First Enoch, and I'm assuming that he'll have more in Second Enoch, but it's probably more than you needed to know. Anyway, so he's got 2 volumes on First Enoch. Yes. Okay. I don't remember what I said, but there you go. That's what I meant. Whatever it is that I said. Right. So definite article, prefixed prepositions. So your prefixed prepositions are things like b or k or l. So, in, with, or by, like, to, or for. And what I mean, of course, is if you wanted to say to a king, melech. If you wanted to say to a king, you'd want to add this. And you would end up with Lamelech. What's the example that he gives here? Okay, sure, that's probably better. So the word for city, ir. If you wanted to say to a city, you'd say la'ir, or with, or in, sorry, in a city. Whoa, stop it. Ah. Ba'ir. Right. So if he talks a bit about what happens if, so let's use our word davar, word, thing, matter. If you wanted to say the word, right, hadavar, and what happens when you put a preposition on a word, one of these ba, ko, or la prepositions. Well, we remember that the bait or the kaf or the lamed, they're so strong that they simply overwhelm and take over that hey. So you just get badavar or my eraser. Ladavar. So it just takes over, and that's all I'm talking about there. Okay. Again, questions that you have, please put them in the side chat. He talks about the rule of 𝀭. If everybody remembers, the 𝀭is just that thing. Okay. So Higher Evolutionary asks, for lamed, is there a way to distinguish from an infinitive form and a preposition? Yeah, absolutely. Most of it's going to be just context, right? You're just gonna know as you read through. But first of all, well, you're gonna be looking at. Often you're going to be looking at a lamed attached. So, sorry. So what he's asking, or what they're asking, is that lamed, is there a way that we can distinguish, we can tell that the lamed is acting as part of an infinitive construct form? So let's take that route. Davar. If we didn't have any pointing, this could be ledaber, which would be an infinitive construct form, to speak, to say, or it could be ledavar, which is to a thing, for a thing, or for a matter. Most of the time it's context, and I'll tell you what I'll do is I'll point these out as you go, but basically, you're looking to see, the first key is if that's a verbal form there, that's a key that this lamed is probably, I don't know about statistics, but start to look for it to be an infinitive construct. If it's a noun, you're probably just looking at the preposition lamed. 2 or 4. It's a good question. Rule of 𝀭. Okay, so right. What's the example that he gives here? So basically, the rule is this: if you have 2 𝀭s in a row, what's going to happen is he's got several examples here. Yeah. So yeah, sorry. the key to the rule of 𝀭 is that both of these have to be vocal 𝀭s. So let's give an example. I'll just use the one that he uses. Okay, yeah, sure. So melech, I keep forgetting that I can just use his examples. I don't have to keep coming up with them on my own. Melech is king. I made that too big. Sorry. Okay, so melech is king. Sorry, somebody said, how can you mention Heichal without bringing in Sumerian? Sorry, I'm just trying to give the necessary information. Is it choppy? Huh. Sorry, I'm getting in the side chat that I'm choppy. I don't know what that is. The stream says I've got an excellent connection. When you say choppy, like my audio's choppy, or what if I turn it down a little? Is that better? Sorry, everybody. Yeah, let me know if it's any better. Just turn the volume down some more. Maybe is that better? Okay. Maybe it's just clipping. I don't know. Okay, so he said, not me personally. Thank you. Appreciate it. Let me turn it down a little bit right here as well. Okay, so somebody, Gorgeous Roddy Chrome says it's not choppy for him. Okay, cool. Sorry. Thank you guys for letting me know. Okay. So melech, yes, I forgot what I was doing. So melech, if you wanted to make melech plural, what you would do is, of course, you have to make that kaf, not a final kaf. Put your eem ending on, and then, we get our pretty standard, because that's a seglet. Is it still doing it? It seems to be dropping frames. Does it seem to be still doing it? I don't know exactly what to do about that. Okay. So when we do that, when we make it melachim, this is a vocal 𝀭 there. So melachim. So you pronounce that 𝀭. So what he's saying is, if you put b melachim, you have a vocal 𝀭 here and a vocal 𝀭 here. That's really interesting. The way that I quickly drew this 𝀭 makes it look like an I. You notice that? You see that I there? The letter I? Here's the bottom of it. Well, that's what happens. Coincidence? I think not. So what happens when you have two vocal 𝀭s in a row is the first one will often become a hierik, the I sound, short I. And the second one will go silent, become a silent 𝀭. So bim lachim, not bimelachim. So bim lachim. If that first letter is Yehuda, good. If the first letter is a yud, and you have two vocal 𝀭s in a row, according to what we just learned, the first one's going to go to a hierik, the second one's going to go silent. But in this case, because there's a yud, these two kind of go together and form a hierik yod, hierik yod, and you get bihuda, not, well, I mean, it's trying to think of another way to pronounce it. that would be it. So essentially this second Shava here drops out, and you get, you know, a long vowel here, bihuda, bihuda. Okay. There's some other things that we can talk about, but we'll talk about it as they come up. But that's, yeah, I guess I can talk about it real quick. So the word chalom. My professor used to always say, every time someone in ancient Israel had a dream where God came to them in that dream, the first thing that God would say when he came to them in the dream is, Shalom! It's time to have a dream. Shalom! Okay. So, in the word Shalom, Shalom starts with a composite Shava. So the composite Shava is one that has like a patach or a sagol or a kametz chatuf attached to it. And it's because of the guttural letter, usually, that it does that. But if you have one that has that composite Shava, and then you put, man, that bait there was terrible. What will happen is, instead of this going to a hirik and this going to a simple Shava, this vowel sound is echoing back. It echoes back. So what you end up with is bachalom. And the same thing happens. He uses the example of the word truth, emet. If you wanted to say in truth, instead of getting a simple Shava here or a hirik, what you actually get is this vowel echoed back. So be'emet. So in the modern Hebrew, be'emet? Really? Anyway. Right. And there are other things, but those are sort of the big ones. Okay. There are other standalone prepositions. We've seen a bunch of them. Lifnei, you know, before or in front of someone or something. What's this one here? Oops. Tachat, tachat, under or in place of, instead of. Neged. You know, a lot of times people have fears of public speaking, and they'll have dreams about it. And one of the things that they realize in the dream, they start dreaming and they realize that they're neged in front of all those people. They are neged in front of all those people. You don't want to be neged in front of all those people. Okay. It's not going to get better. I'm going to come up with more goofy ways to remember things. Okay. The preposition min. This is a good one to talk about. So min means from or out of, away from. But it has different nuances. But let's talk about the form. It can stand running out of room. Sorry. It can stand independently before a word. So min haaretz, from the land, from the earth. Or it can be directly attached to a word. So Let's see. That's a good word to do. Yeah. So bite is house. If you wanted to say from a house, you could either say min bite from a house, or you could change the color, directly attach. And what happens is that noon does what we expect it to be. It does what we expect it to do. And it gets real small and it goes in there as a dogish, right? So for those of you that have been with us, we have our special Hebrew letter magnifying glass. Oops. And if we, have a magnifying glass and we were to zoom in, we would see actually instead of it being a dot, it's actually a very small nun. It's because it has curled up into a really tight ball and gone into that bait. And so it assimilates into the bait. So from a house. Now, what if we wanted to say from the house? Bite is house. If we wanted to say the house, right? Oops. Habait, no problem. But then we attach this min. So no problem with the mem, hirik. And then we try to make that nun assimilate into the hay and up. Wait, where'd it go? Oh, man, it's almost as if that hay, that guttural letter, doesn't want to take a dogish. So weird. Let me just try it again, just real quick. I can't believe it. Ba-dum-tsh. Actually, I don't know if that's a ba-dum-tsh moment. Probably not. So what do we have to do? Well, that hirik will lengthen to tsere. So is that an example that he uses there? No, he uses hot. It's okay. But so a short I, which is what this hirik is, will lengthen because IE class vowels are kind of similar. We'll go to may. May. So now, when you syllabify that, now you have a long vowel in an open unaccented syllable, which we expect. So there you go. Okay, the conjunction vav. Pretty standard. This is, the word and can also be like but, or yeah, it's usually just and, but. So if we wanted to say and a word, the davar. So this is a vocal shavah here because it's at the beginning of a word, the davar. Right. Remember last week we talked about if you have a bait, a mem, or a pay, a bump. Before a bump, you can have a sure wreck. So if you're driving your vehicle and you're driving too fast and you see one of those really big speed bumps, you might swerve to get out of the way, and before a bump, it's a sure wreck. So if you remember this guy, the oo sound, the long oo sound is called a sure wreck. So before a bump, B, M, or P, bump, you're going to get a sure wreck. You're going to have a sure wreck. What does that mean? Okay, so what are the words? Just use bite. for house, if we wanted to say in a house, and a house, we could say, if we put va on, let's start with that. If you remember these letters, they call them the Begad Kafat letters, Be, Gimel, Dalet, Kaf, Pe, and Tav. If they start a word or they come after a silent Shava, if they start a sound without another sound coming behind it, they will have this dagish line, they call it. So they'll start with that dagish. So bite. However, if that letter begins with, if that letter comes directly after a vowel sound, a vocal shava is also a vowel sound, then this dagish will disappear and this bait will be spirantized, they say. So the b sound goes to v. So the b goes to a v sound. Well, vavite sounds or is difficult to say. So what they do instead of saying vavite, they say uvite, uvite. So instead of vavite, say uvite. And the same would be true of a pay. Does he give a pay? Yes. So petach. Petach is yes, the word he uses there for like a door or an opening. And instead of saying, so you have this vowel sound, after the vowel sound, your dagish line disappears, that pay becomes spirantized. So instead of saying v fetach, you end up saying ufetach, ufetach. So there you go. So before a bait, a mem, or a pay, you're going to get a shor rek. You're going to have a shor rek before a bump. The same is true before a vocal shava. So melech, when we pluralize it, you get melachim. You have this vocal shava here. And before a vocal shava, I forgot what we're doing. Conjunction, good. Instead of v melachim, get melachim. So before a bump or a vocal shava, you're going to have a shor rek. Ooh. Right. He makes a note here. Actually, I had somebody ask about this, and a couple of times it's shown up, and I couldn't remember where it was, and then I, of course, stopped thinking about it. But Yehi is from Haya, let it be. And if you put the Vav Pathak doubling dot on, you get Vayehi, which is a form that we see all the time, Vayehi, and it came to pass, and it happened. But when we see it, we all very often, I don't know about the statistics, but we often, very often see it without the dagish and the yud, right? And the way that I described it is there are lots of times where you have a vocal shava underneath of a letter that has one of those dagish fortes, or the doubling dots, and it acts like a little drill, and it drills up and creates a little hole, and that allows the dagish to just drop out. So oftentimes when you have a vocal shava underneath of a letter that has a dagesh forte, a doubling dot, that dagesh forte will just drop out. It won't be written. And it's interesting what he says here. The precise rules for retaining or omitting the dagesh need not concern us now. And a man after my own heart, that's why I don't, sorry, I lost my train of thought because I saw a question. Malachi Walker asks, so would you transliterate that Vayihi or Vayihi? I see. I don't do a lot of transliterating of biblical Hebrew. I would say you're trying to represent what's in the writing system, so I would just write the second one. But I'd have to go back and look and see how they do virtual doubling or whatever how they write that out. Oh, well, he does it right here. Here. So this is the form that he's using. So Ye'or is the Nile, and you would expect Hey Pathak doubling dot, but of course you have a vocal shavah here, so you don't get it, it drops out. And the way that he transliterated this, right here, Hayor. So he's just got one yud represented there. So there you go. Transliteration, of course, is a convention. Just writing it in English characters. Sorry, I probably should have said that. Good question. Good question. So, but just remember, oftentimes if you have a vocal shavah and there's supposed to be a dagesh forte or one of those doubling dots in the letter above the vocal shavah and it's not there, that's probably what happened. It dropped out. Okay, so, oh, something just happened here. So the verbless clause. So if I were to say, David Hamelech, should just use his examples instead of trying to think about it. So David Hamelech, so David the king. This is a verbless clause. There is no linking verb in the present tense. So you don't get, in English, we don't just say David the king. We say David is the king. In biblical Hebrew, in modern Hebrew, you don't have this linking verb to be in the present tense. So he says Adonai Melech. So Yahweh the Lord, whatever, is king. So yeah, you'll often get that because there's no linking verb. It will just you'll get juxtaposition of two words. Okay. So again, that was Chunleong Seao's chapter 6. I didn't give all the examples. I didn't go through all the things that he goes through. I would highly recommend if you're studying biblical Hebrew. It's a good book to pick up, and we're going to be using it as we continue through here. So there we are. All right, now let me make a small adjustment here. Bring this down. Oh, too far. There's our Hebrew text. Okay. So as you remember, let me make sure the little mouse is showing up there, and it is good. You remember we have been going through 1 Kings chapter 1, and So that's what I want to do. I want to do a little bit of grammar, and then we'll actually get into the reading. So we've been going through 1 Kings chapter 1, and if you remember in the story, we've got a guy that Adonijah, who is usurping the throne essentially, and because David is very old, and so now Nathan has come to Bathsheba, who is Solomon's mother, and has said, look, Adonijah's, going about this without the king knowing, and we've got to scheme a little bit here. We got to be strategic and figure out a way to let David know in a way that he's going to, declare Solomon to be the king instead of Adonijah. So we came to, I think we've come through verse 11, and he's basically said Adonijah's raised himself up and put himself on the throne, and David doesn't know. And now verse 12. Again, if you have questions, please put them in the side chat. Tag me at Digital Hammurabi. Ve'ata lechi iatzechna etza umalti et nafshech ve'et nefesh bnech Shlomo. And now, lechi, go or go to, come on. Iatzech, let me advise you. Na is what we'll talk about in a second. So let me advise you with advice. Let me counsel you with counsel, so that malati, and I'll talk about this in a second, you can save your soul, your life, and the life of your son, Solomon. So let's talk about how we got there. Ata is, of course, just the word for now. So ve'ata, and now. Lechi is from the root halach, which means to go or to come. And you'll see this a lot in sort of an idiomatic form here. Trying to think of another example. Lechi bo'i. So go, come. Basically, it's our way of saying in English, similar to saying like, come on, let's go do this. Or go on, go clean your room. Or it's that initial imperative. So this is an imperative, second feminine singular from halach. So lech, lechi, lechu, lechna are the forms. And so, Nathan is saying, and now come, let me advise you. Ya'atz. It's amazing how many words come directly over from Hebrew into English. For example, here, ya'atz. Ya'atz to do this, and ya'atz to do that. Right? That's how you counsel someone. Ya'atz to do this, and ya'atz to do that. To counsel someone. Ya'atz. Yeah. Ya'atz to do that. To counsel someone. That's how I would do it. Josh, what do you recommend? Well, ya'atz to do it this way. That's how I counsel you. Okay. So the aleph, of course, is, I can't put a line under that to underline that aleph because it'll look like a patach. But this aleph, of course, is the first common singular imperfect form. This is a cohortative. So let me, yeah, there are going to be lots of these, sorry. Or maybe not sorry, maybe that's good. So this is ya'atz, and There it is. Well, what does that? So the ech is just the second feminine singular object suffix. So let me, I will, let me advise you. And then we get this particle na here. And na is a particle that's sort of like hene. It's kind of based on context. We often, when we teach it or when we learn it, it often, like please is how people translate it, but it's not really that. It is that sometimes, but it's it's often indicating that there is like a volitional form somewhere, a cohortative, an imperative, adjussive. There's something volitional, some volitional verb going on here. So that's what we get here. So go on, or come on, let me advise you. Nah, just sort of cluing you in that there's probably a volitional verb. That's a cohortative verb. Yatzech. And then, of course, etza or etza is just counsel. So this u malati is from malat. I love superheroes. I'm sure everybody does. I'm actually watching one of the Avengers movies now on Netflix, but it's got to be tough being a superhero, right? Because you're not given a lot of choices. Essentially, as a superhero, I don't know, you got to rescue people. You wake up in the morning and you're going to have to serve and rescue, like serve and protect and rescue people. And I'll bet they wake up, or I'll bet when people ask them, like, how do you do it? How do you get up every day knowing that you have to do this? Superheroes probably say, it's my lot in life. I have to save people. That's my lot in life, to save. It's my lot in life. So malat is to save. Umalati, so this is an imperative. This is that indirect volitive form. So you have an imperative here, a cohortative form here, and then a vav and another imperative. When you have two imperatives like this, with the vav separating them, you get this, sort of this indirect volitive form. And essentially what you need to focus in on is this vav becomes like a so that, or in order that. So the indirect volitive does. So come on, let me counsel you so that you will save, or you can save, et, direct object marker, your life, nefesh. Notice nefesh. Nefesh is a seglet, the two segols and the penultimate stress. Nefesh, just like these other seglets, when the accent shifts, unless it's getting pluralized, this is ech ending. The accent shifts down to here, and it goes back to its original one syllable base, naf. The same with melech. Melech would go to malki, so malki tzedek, mal. Some seglets that one syllable base vowel is the hirik. But anyway, so nafshech, your soul, your life. So you can save your life and the life of. Notice the merchan, the tivka. Sorry. So this is in construct form. The life of your son. So Bane, son, if you wanted to say your son, accents here, you go to an open pretonic syllable. If you have a sere there, it gets reduced. It gets reduced to Shava, and that's what we get there. So, Benech, your son, Shlomo. Oh, and here it is right here. That's awesome. L'chi uvoi el hamelech David ve'amarta elav hallo. Oh, can you guys see that? Sorry, I keep forgetting I have to scroll down. Yeah, good. Hallo ata Adoni hamelech nishbata la'amatcha lemor. So we'll do that much, and then we'll scroll down. Let's go to the next page. So l'chi uvoi. So notice a bait before a bump, a bait, mem, or pay. You get a shore rec. You have a shore rec before a bump. So boi would be an imperative form of bo, to come. And notice here, go and come. But again, this l'chi is sort of the same idea that we use in English. Come on. Come on. And come to the king, El HaMelech. So these are both imperatives. To the king David. Notice these are in these are in apposition to one another. So it's not, it's just David the King David. These are in apposition to one another. David, ve'amarta, and this cow, perfect. I'm blanking on the, Vav consecutive perfect. Sorry, I was blanking on the term. So this cow, Vav consecutive perfect, is taking on the nuance of the imperative here. So come on and come to the King David and say, second feminine singular. So it's not and you will say. It's taking on the nuance of the volative here, and say to him elav, excuse me, preposition el, elav, to him, and then here's what you're going to say. Notice this hey in the front is, I know we always do this, but let's do it again. A path act doubling dot is your standard form for the definite article. Excuse me, but here you don't have that, right? You have hallo. This composite shava underneath of the hey is indicative of this interrogative hey. So it's setting up a question. So if you see the hey in the front with the composite shava, then you know you're probably looking at an interrogative hey. So it's setting up a question. Hallo ata. So you got to keep going here. I wanted to read it at first. Are you not my Lord the King? Are you not the King? Like, are you not the King? But that's not it. It's going with this verb here. Did you, my Lord the King, not swear? Nishpata. So it's just a nifal form of shin beit ayin. So to swear. Did you not swear? So nifal, perfect. Second masculine singular. From shava. Did you not swear to lamed? Notice here. Okay, let's go through that form because that's actually a good one to go through. Ugh, terrible mem. Ama is like a maidservant, female slave, whatever. And what's our form? Okay. I'm going to say your servant. But of course, we remember that a hey at the end of a word like this is not strong enough to hold up an object suffix. I mean, remember, look at it. Big gap right here. You know, you hang this object suffix on it and it's just going to collapse, right? So what did they do? Well, they strengthen, as a good engineer would, they strengthen the hey. They fill in that gap, and then they put a little foot on it. So they turn it into a tav. Tav is much stronger. See it there? I mean, look at that. It's got a strong, solid line there. It's got that little foot on it. So it can really hold the weight of that cough. So, sorry, I want to make it look more like a, more like a tav. So, oh, whoops, it's not ech, it's cha. Ah. Come on, Josh. There we go. So it's cha, second masculine singular. So cha. So amat cha. And of course, we know the accent shifts. And when it shifts, that leaves, we have to do our rule of reduction, right? So we go to and open. We just start, kind of start at the beginning. It's probably the easiest way to remember it. So go back to this. Is there an open syllable with a comments or a sere? Yes, there is. This gets reduced. So you get amat cha. And right there it is. Now when you add your lamed, we just learned this, right? You don't, there's no definite article here on this form because that object suffix makes this word definite, right? It's already a specific maidservant, your maidservant. So you don't say the your maidservant, just say your maidservant. So there's no pathak or something to take over here. There's no definite article. So you're just trying to put on that simple shava underneath the lamed to your maidservant. But we learned that if you have a composite shava here, that vowel will echo back. And that's what it does. So where's our form? There it is. So amat cha. So notice get that vowel echo. That explains our form. Lemor. So did you not, so let's say, did you, my lord the king, not swear to your maidservant, saying, lemor. To adjust that a second. Ki Shlomo v'nech yimloch achrai, v'hu yeshev al kis'i, umadua malach Adoniyahu. So saying, Malachi asks, since we're doing this today, does this mean we're not doing it tomorrow? Yeah, I mentioned at the beginning of the stream that we've got, Megan told me this morning, we've got a bunch on the schedule tomorrow. So I figured I'd make sure I did it today. So, right, we ended with lemor, saying, notice what it says here. Solomon, so key is that, right? That, since, or because. That's what we want to say. So that Solomon, your son. Now here, you know, when I read this, I wanted it to be your son in the masculine, right? Second singular, because she's talking to David. Then I thought, okay, this key is doing the, you know, what it does. It tipped me off that it's switching now to direct speech. So what she's doing is she's saying, didn't you say, quote, and then she's actually speaking, you know, giving some direct speech. So David said, quote, Solomon, your son, feminine, will reign after, and there it is, after me, acharai, after me. So it's David speaking. So she's saying, didn't you say, quote, Solomon, your son, will reign after me? The who, and he will sit. So yeshev, so from yashav. Remember, when yashav somebody, they sit down. And that's their natural, that's what gravity does, right? If yashav somebody, they're going to sit down because they go down. Yashav them, they sit down. And he will sit. So yashav goes to eshev, teshev, teshevi, yeshev, teshev. Al kis'i. So kisei is a chair. So kis'i would be my chair, my throne, right? Al is on or upon my throne. And then that's the end of the quote. So she is saying, hey, Your Majesty, didn't you say to me, quote, Solomon, your son, will reign after me, and he will sit upon my throne, end quote. Umadua, so you have a shorek before a mem. So before BM or P, before a bump, there's a shorek. And why, or but why, malach. So Cal perfect, third masculine singular from Mem Lamed Kaf. Adoniyahu. Why has Adonijah taken the throne? Why has he started to rule? Whatever. Oh, sorry. I've skipped ahead in my mind. This happens later in the passage. So this is Nathan talking to, this is Nathan talking to Bathsheba and saying, here's what you're going to say. My lord the king, didn't you swear? So it's Nathan doing direct speech about direct speech. Yeah, so anyway. Hine, sorry, I lost it. Hine odach medaberet sham im hamelech va'ani avo acharayich umeleti et devarayich. Behold. Just kidding. Don't say behold. I mean, it's fine to start off doing that, but hine is that, you know, we learned it as behold, but it's got a lot of nuances, sort of like that particle na. It's okay to, you know, if you want to say something to say behold, but it's more nuanced. It's like drawing attention to something. It can have emotional effects. It does a lot of different stuff. So I take it more emphatically here because listen to what he says, or read it because you guys are, you know Hebrew. So, sort of an interesting ode is like still yet. So, sort of like while you are still medaberet. So let's go through this form. Medaber, this is a PL active participle, masculine singular, from davar. And of course, in the PL, it just means to say or to speak something. So the participles in the PL start with this mem shava. If you see mem shava, think, you should probably start thinking PL active participle. So medaberet, so medaber, hu medaber, he medaberet. So it's medaber, medaberet, medaberim, medaberot. Those are the forms. So medaberet. I've lost it. There it is. So just the PL active participle, feminine singular, from davar, diber. So while you are still speaking there, sham, im hamelech, with hamelech, the king, good standard, hey, pathak, doubling dot there, with the king, va'ani, so maybe a good way to do this. This hine is sort of painting a picture of, trying to think of a good way to bring it across in English. Look, you will still be speaking there with the king, and I. So he's painting this sort of temporal thing. You're still gonna, while you're still speaking, is the idea. While you are still speaking there with the king, the words either will have just come out or they almost have come out or whatever. You won't be done. You'll still be in the process of speaking with the king. And I, va'ani, notice here this echo vowel, patach, pathak, va'ani, because of the composite shva. And I, avo, will come. So from bo, this is a Callan perfect. Avo, tavo, tavoi, yavo, tavo. Acharaich. So this is this aich ending. So it's acharei plus the second feminine singular object suffix. So after you. I will come after you. While you're still speaking, I will come after you. Like I, myself, the prophet, I'm going to come. Umileti, and I will, malah is to, in the PL is like to fill up something. It's like to support, confirm, substantiate, maybe, I don't know. Et devaraich. So let's talk about that form. Davar is word. If we wanted to make that a plural, put our im ending on. We go to our open propertonic syllable here. If it's a comments or shava, comments or etzere, we reduce it, so we get devarim. And right, okay, so then if we wanted to say, we want to put an object suffix on that, get rid of, oops. So there's our ending eich, and they've got a metheg here, this little vertical line next to it. Oops, those are ugly. It's an ugly comments, but because this happens a lot at the end of a line, excuse me, end of a verse or an end of a line, where you have a sof pasuk, and it's these two dots here. That makes this a long vowel. It's a comments. So that explains why that's a comments there. And what's our form? Oh, that's it. Did I skip over? No, okay, I didn't. Devareich. That's how we get that form. Excuse me, good grief. Sorry, everybody. So when I will fulfill, complete, I will substantiate whatever, your words. So Nathan is saying, while you're still talking, you're making your case in there, I'm going to come in there and like back you up. So she goes for it. Vatavo vat-sheva. Oh, sorry, vat-sheve. Wonder if that doesn't matter. Vat-sheve and El Hamelech Hachadra. Hachadra. It's an interesting form. We'll talk about it. V'hamelech zaken me'od. V'avishag ha'shunamit mesha. It's kind of small. Mesha. I want it to be mesharet. But it looks like mesharat to me. Zoom in because it'll. I want it to be tsere there, but I can't see the points. Mesharet. I'm going to say mesharet because I think that's what it should be. Et hamelech. Okay. If somebody's got their BHS or is reading along, can you look and see? That looks like a pathak for all the world to me, but it's very small on the screen, so I can't make it out. If you could look and see if that's at Sarah there. Okay, so Bathsheba came to the king El Hamelech Hachadra. Okay. So the word for room is cheder. Cheder. Yes. So this is that directional hey. Notice that the accent did not shift. It did go back to its one syllable base, chadra, but the accent stayed, so it tells you it's a directional hey. And then you get your hey pathak compensatory lengthening. So there you go. That explains that form. Hachadra, to the room. So to the king, to the room. V'hamelech zaken me'od. Now the king, so sort of a parenthetical. I gotta sneeze. Sorry. Hopefully the mute worked. So now the king, here's your, oh, this is great, man. It's all this stuff is, okay, yours has a patach. Okay, good. I'm gonna have to look and see why that is. It's very interesting. Now I'll explain it in a second. Yeah, so we talked about we gave the example David is the king. My handwriting is so atrocious. David is the king. Oh, never mind. Let's see why. Right. Sorry, I got sidetracked. But here we've got, so this is the verbless clause is the word that I'm searching for and losing. So David is the king, no linking verb there. So v'hamelech zaken me'od. So, and the king was zaken me'od, no linking verb here, was very old. Me'od is very. Zakein, old. Va'avishag, so this is sort of a parenthetical clause. Va'avishag hashunamit. So this is this. Now I'm understanding. I'll have to look at the actual root. It's a masculine. It's probably mesharet because it's a feminine. Instead of it being mesharetet, it's probably mesharat. I'll have to look. Unless somebody wants to look for me. But this is a PL, active participle, feminine singular from shout out to serve. Notice, let me do this again. Medaber is sort of my go-to form for the PL. So he is speaking, or speaking is a PL active participle, masculine singular. So you've got this. One of the things about the PL is you have a doubled middle radical, which we have here. However, in the form you can't put that dagesh in here, right? Because it forces it out. So what you end up with is compensatory lengthening. So that, yeah. So Michael Walker says, my reader parses it as a PL feminine singular. That's why it is. What I was saying, I'm going to have to go look up the different forms of sharat. That's what I think is going on here. Because I don't think they want to say mesharetet. So medaber, medaberet, medabri, medabrot. It's probably mesharet, mesharat, mesharim, mesharot. But I'll have to look. But that's compensatory lengthening, which is why you have this comets here for the resh. So and Avishag, the Shunammite, was serving the king. Okay, I think we can do one more verse. Vatikod bat sheva. Excuse me. Vatishtachu lamelech. Vayomer. So Vayomer hamelech malach. And Bathsheba, like bowed down. It's from Kadad. So both Dalit. And these geminate forms just sort of, they do this. Dagesh in the first radical. Vatikod. Trying to think of another geminate off the top of my head. Vaitam. So anyway, to bow down, Kadad. So Bathsheba bowed down. But Vatishtachu, this is sort of the bane of some people's existence. So this is a Hishtafel form. Hishtafel. I don't even know if it's worth going through the construction of it. Maybe we'll do that at a later date. I feel like it'll be a little too confusing, but it's from Chava. It's a Hishtafel form from Chava, and it means to bow down. But here it's, you can see the, yeah, I'm not even gonna, so, and she bowed down. She prostrated herself. 2 words for bowing down here. Don't read a lot into it. This, it's not like crazy common, but it does happen a fair amount. But it's, she's getting low, to the king. So she bowed down to the king, la melech. Vayomer hamelech malach, like, what to you? It's, it looks sort of terse when you read it. Malach, like, what's to you? Like maybe what was it? What's with you? But that's definitely not a good way to translate it. It seems like it's you know, a little too flippant. He's not being a jerk to her. It's, you know, say what can I do for you? What for you? What can I do for you? It's like Kip going, what do you need? It's not like that. Okay. You know what? I think we've got time for that one pretty quick. Vatomer lo. Yeah, okay. Vatomer lo, and she said to him, and then the quote starts. Adoni ata nishbata badonai Elohecha la amatecha ki Shlomo v'nech yimloch acharai v'hu yeshev al kis'i. So this one will go quickly too, because we just did something similar to that. My Lord, you swore. So same form there. Nifal second. Nifal perfect. Second masculine singular from Shin Beit Ein. You swore by the Lord, Badonai. We're going to skip this form because to take it through the word Adonai, it's probably just not worth it. Elohecha, so this is from Elohim. Echa is your second. This is Echa is the second masculine singular object suffix. And that's the form it takes on the plural. So Elohim is a plural. Elohim, Elohecha. La'amatecha, so this is same sort of makeup that we saw before. To your servant. And then the quote starts, Shlomo v'nech, notice your in the feminine, your son Yimloch will reign achrai, after me, v'hu yeshev al kis'i, and he will sit upon my throne, kisei, kisi. So same thing that we saw above. And actually, this is all the same too. We're moving through this. Ve'ata hine adoniya malach, ve'ata adoni hamelech lo yadata. And now, same as above, hine, like, and here, you know, like, behold, and there's a better way to do it, right? And now, look, Adonijah has started to rule. And now, and I'll bet that there's this note here. We're not going to look, but it's probably because they're deleting it. And now, my Lord the King has not known it, or, you know, this is a perfect form. So Cal perfect, second masculine singular from Yada, has not known about it, essentially. Yeah, this is all the same. Okay. No, it's kind of long, even though it's similar. Okay, well, we'll stop. We'll start here next time in chapter 1, verse 19. I know we're not moving crazy fast through this, but it's I think we're actually making pretty good progress. So, okay. There we go. So I think this was good. We accomplished the next lesson in Hebrew grammar and did some reading in 1 Kings 1. If you are watching after the live stream and you have questions, please don't hesitate to put them in the comments section. I generally don't interact a lot with YouTube comments. I sometimes do, but not always. But Megan, anytime you know, comments come in and I need to see them, she, you know, calls my attention to them. So if you have questions, please put them in the comments section and comment anyway. Give the video a thumbs up. That is always useful for us. I think it does something good with the algorithm if you comment just to say that you liked it. Or if you think I need to change, I don't know, my hairstyle or whatever. Comment down. I think it helps. But guys, I really appreciate you being with me. I can't tell how many people, I don't know how many people are actually watching. I can't see, but I appreciate all of you that are here. Malachi Walker says, if you want to be derelict in your duties and do this tomorrow, I won't hold it against you. I will see. I'll see. It won't be able to be at its normal time if I do it. But maybe, maybe we'll go back for a little bit. I'd like to, after we finish 1 Kings 1, I'd like to start doing, maybe select some other genres to read from. I think prose is good. Narrative is good because it's more straightforward. It's, not poetic. But we'll see. But yeah, if you have something particularly you'd like me to, translate through, please leave that in the comment section. We'll see what we can do. Just a quick word before I wrap up. As most of you know, Megan and I have 2 books out. One is the Learning to Read Ancient Sumerian, and the other is the Did the Old Testament Endorse Slavery? I have started writing a 3rd book. It's sort of a publication of my dissertation, but in a popular. I'm modifying, a fair amount of it, but to make it more accessible. But it's a popular level book. But it should be good. It's about scribal education and how, you'll see. But that's cool. And Megan is starting the process of writing a book on, I think, sex and sexuality in the ancient Near East. So that should be a lot of fun. Okay. Thank you guys very, very much. Really appreciate this. I got one more question. Sorry. C. Conlon asks, if I pronounced that right, sorry. It's hard to see. Did I once hear you say that you learned modern Hebrew before you learned biblical Hebrew? Yes. Not that I was some expert. Not that I was fluent in any way in modern Hebrew. But so when I started going to seminary, the first year you take Greek, and then usually in your 2nd year you start to take Hebrew. Not everybody does it that way, obviously, but I don't know why anyway. So I was starting to study in my first semester. I was starting to study Hebrew, and I was going through the grammars, the standard sort of grammars that they provided or that they recommended. And I thought, man, I wonder if there's some other resources that make it easier to do this. So I ended up finding myself on a website called Hebrew World with Dr. Danny Ben-Gigi. And I remember emailing him and saying, here's my situation. I'm in seminary. I'm learning biblical Hebrew. Do you have any recommendations? And he said he sent me a program called Hebrew So Simple. That's what it was called. And I went through that thing with a fine-tooth comb. It came with these CDs, audio CDs, and then it came with a VHS tape for the end. Anyway, so I learned modern Hebrew reasonably well. I could carry on a decent conversation. And it really, really helped me anyway, because I wasn't dependent on, the vowel pointing. Generally speaking, I remember we were reading through Jeremiah in my 5th year at seminary, and I had a program that I could turn the vowel points off. I could just have the consonants up, and that's how I read through Jeremiah, which was cool, because learning to read without the vowel points is actually a really good exercise, because you learn what to expect anyway. But yeah, so that was probably more information than you wanted. Okay. Thank you so much, guys. I promise I will end it now. Until next time, resist poor scholarship. Always ask, how do you know that? Bye, guys.